How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. A lot of people are saying Solana is dying. Like, literally, I'll show you. There are a ton of people saying that right now, as apparently there's a whistleblower that outed the fact that FTX might have a lot more Solana than people expected or thought to be the case. I want to talk about that, but then also talk about what's happening, which is the big players, the entities that have lots of money continue to swallow up more and more Bitcoin, and it's just like this black hole where the rich are getting richer in Bitcoin terms, and I think you have to be mindful of what's happening right now. If you want to trade cryptocurrency, after we talk about this, if you want to leverage up, use your cryptocurrency to try to make more cryptocurrency. There's a link to Margex underneath the video. You can start trading there in just a few minutes. And with that link underneath the video, you will get access to future airdrops as well. They're doing airdrops all the time, trading competitions. We just ended one where you could get up to $5,000. There's also a link to CoinW underneath the video as well in case you want. There's a free deposit and earn up to $3,000 depending on how much you deposit and how much you are trading. So definitely check those out. Now let's start here. Everyone, it's crazy. Solana is dying after FTX whistleblower shows that they hold 8% in secret wallets. That's $6 billion in sell pressure. They say this is bad. Let's just read this. In a stunning revelation, an ex-employee of FTX has come forward as a whistleblower, uncovering the FTX wallets hold approximately 8% of the supply of Solana. The massive cache of Sol previously undisclosed highlights the extensive entanglement of FTX. Now, let me go here. Just look at this. If you look up Solana is dying after FTX whistleblower come to base, they said Solana is dying. They said Solana is dying. There's more. I made it. Solana is not dying. Solana is dying. Breaking. Solana is dying after whistleblower. Honestly, when I saw this at first, I was like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder if they really hold this. And then I saw all these posts saying the exact same thing. And honestly, it seems a bit like a FUD campaign, and I'm not exactly sure, but from what it seems like FTX is pretty much wrapped up, that they're distributing cash back to previous or to creditors, and it sounds like that's happening like this year, like end of the year. So I don't know where this is coming from. But honestly, at this point, it doesn't really scare me. It seems, again, like a bit of FUD with, a pretty big drop on Solana, about down 10% or so since a day and a half ago. It seems like this is just being spread around to try to get people FUDded out of Solana. And I could always be wrong, but, after a while in crypto, I think your body just kind of gets a sixth sense for certain things. And it seems like this is kind of just FUD at this point. I'm not selling any of my Solana. If anything, if we fall down further, I'll probably buy some more, because Solana has shown to be able to withstand massive amounts of selling from FTX and the blow up of FTX and all that kind of stuff. And it is, I think, the premier layer one. Now, moving on. I covered this in the last video, but Will Clemente says, holy shit. Sailors trying to get another $2 billion of Bitcoin, basically saying they're going to do an at the money or at the market offering. Basically, again, just swallowing up more Bitcoin. And I showed this in the last one too. The total amount of Bitcoin over time versus the assumed dilution basically just shows that they're able to get their hands on a lot more Bitcoin than they're diluting. So you basically just are able to have accretive buys of Bitcoin that give you more over time. I mean, think about it as like a REIT that continues to buy accretive properties that make good cash flow. But instead of properties, we're just talking about Bitcoin. They're able to do some financial jujitsu to be able to just give you more Bitcoin per share over and over and over again. Now, they can still trade at premiums. Keep that in mind, that sometimes there is a right time to buy MicroStrategy, and sometimes there's a time where it maybe doesn't make a lot of sense because you are paying bit of a premium. So keep that in mind when you're buying. Just because they're accretive does not mean that you buy at any price. But the interesting thing about this is that we just continue to see more and more Bitcoin swallowed up. And this is by a lot of the big entities. August is off to a good start with 50 million Bitcoin purchased by Bitcoin ETFs. The Bitcoin ETF net flow 50.4 million. Blackrock was 25.7 million of that. Grayscale was negative 71. The new Grayscale Mini had a flow of 191. It's kind of weird just what they're doing with the Grayscale Mini Trust in general, but that had a inflow. Fidelity had a pretty big outflow, nearly 50 million. Bitwise 20 million, ARKB 22 million, Van Eck negative 3.6, and all these were negative too. Negative on Fidelity, Bitwise, and ARK here today. But BlackRock continues to swallow up more Ethereum too. BlackRock ETH daily flows plus 91.4 million. Okay, it's just so interesting to see what's going on. Like, the people that can buy continue to swallow up. The big buyers continue to swallow up, and BlackRock has off days, right? They do have a few net zero days. I think maybe even they had one negative day. But generally, they're just swallowing up so much. Hunter Horsley, who runs Bitwise, he says, another advisor let us know that they made a 1% model allocation to BITB today across all 230 families they manage wealth for. Model allocations are still nascent, but growing. This is the final destination. 2024 is the beginning of the mainstream era of Bitcoin. And I said this in a post. In the future, this is all going to seem so obvious. So obvious. There's going to be price action up and down right now, and we've seen that a lot this year, but it's going to seem so obvious. There's so many individuals like this, 230 wealthy families that can now buy Bitcoin, that are putting a 1% allocation to Bitcoin, whether they know it or not. The fact is, advisors will push towards that model. Eventually, target date portfolios will have Bitcoin in it, just like they have gold or bonds for older individuals. They'll have Bitcoin for probably all individuals. Countries are buying Bitcoin. Pensions are buying Bitcoin. There's just a natural change in politics around Bitcoin as well. So honestly, I think it's going to be so obvious, but you have to be able to make it through to that point, right? You have to be able to live with the volatility and make it through mentally, which is why I try to make videos. Sometimes I will say, maybe it's too much for some people, right? I make 2, 3, 4 videos a day. It's too much. Not everyone can watch every video. That's why sometimes I restate things I think are really important. And also, it's just to remind you that, hey, yeah, there's some volatility. There is volatility, but you want to be in this for the long term. You want to take advantage, because we're not always going to get years where we get 2x, 3x on Bitcoin. There are going to be years in the future where in a bull run, we get 15%, 15 or 20%. And that will be considered a very good return for Bitcoin for a year, because we're going to be at hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, maybe tens of millions of dollars, just like we have in other assets, just like VOO, when people are excited that we have a 12%, 14% year, because that outpaces the general growth. Eventually, Bitcoin will kind of have its place in the overall economy, and then it will just grow like everything else, slow and steady. There will be down years, but we're going to see runs where Bitcoin goes like 10 years, just continuously moving up, just like the S&P 500. Maybe it'll be down a year, but then right back to a bull run, 10 years in a row. Again, make sure you keep your wits about you. We are going in the right direction. Everything looks good I shouldn't say everything looks good. There are some things that cause short-term concern, but right now, I like where we're going. Let me know your thoughts, though, underneath the video. Again, you can check out the link to MargeX and to CoinW, and I'll see you all in the next one.